Chapter 5, The Ideal Sponsored Entrepreneur. There are a lot of character traits to describe someone who might be right for this business. But first, let's start out with who's probably not right for this business. This business is not for you if you have the following characteristics. 1, you are risk averse. Everyone has a certain appetite for risk, but if you describe yourself as risk averse, this is not the right business for you. 2, you have an employee mindset. You need someone to show you what to do, how to do it, when to get to work, and when to leave. 3, you prefer a work environment that's comfortable, slow, and steady. 4, you have a tremendous amount of debt. You're unable to control your spending or manage your finances. 5, you don't want to help people. 6, you're only interested in making a lot of money. 7, you're a small thinker and wants to make just a little bit more money than you do now. You're starting to get the picture. Now, let's talk about the character traits of people who are successful in this business. If the following traits describe you, you are likely a promising candidate for this type of career. 1, you have an incredible amount of self-discipline. You're competitive and driven to win. 2, you're a doer. You will do whatever it takes to get the job done. You might describe yourself as a grinder. Although I don't like this word because it's not a sustainable way to work in the long run, it's a good place to start. We can coach you to achieve better balancing habits. 3, you're a team player. You don't need to keep all the glory for yourself. Rather, you're good at delegating tasks to people who go above and beyond all the time. You have a desire to create something bigger than yourself. 4, you have a huge dream and a strong purpose. It takes a lot of hard work, rejection, and perseverance to succeed in this business. If you don't have a history of success, specific examples of winning consistently, then financial service business is not going to be the place where you find success. You have to have been successful at something else before. 5, you have overcome adversity. If life has been super easy for you and you haven't failed or struggled, it will be very difficult to be successful in this business. Facing failure is inevitable. 6, you have a significant amount of support from your spouse. If you are married and your spouse does not support you 100%, this business can be a death sentence for your relationship and/or for your success as an advisor. When you face late hours, performance slumps, and rejection, you will need his or her support. Now, this doesn't mean you and your spouse both have to have the same temperament. My wife and I are almost complete opposites when it comes to risk tolerance and thinking big. But we complement each other well, and we support each other in everything we do. Having support in this business will look different to everyone, but some key character traits are that your spouse needs to understand that this is a real business. Just because you don't have to go to work at 9 and stay there till 5 doesn't mean you have to put in at least that many hours into building your practice. Your spouse has to be okay with that. On the upside, you'll have the freedom and flexibility to catch your kid's afternoon ball game or recital, but that might mean that after dinner, you're going to have to go out on an appointment, or maybe on Saturday, you'll have to go on appointments or prepare for meetings upcoming in the next week. It's super helpful if your spouse can be your accountability partner and make sure you're not ending your day until you've done everything possible to set new appointments. Also, if your spouse can be a prospector for you, a center of influence, that's a huge advantage. Your spouse should be your biggest advocate in building your business and be proud to share what you're doing. It can be an advantage if you're single because you don't have to juggle work and family priorities. But on the other hand, you won't have a supportive spouse encouraging you. Being a sponsored entrepreneur in financial services requires that you spend your first few years building systems, establishing a clientele, and putting the right support people in place. Once you've established that foundation of your practice, you can spend the next several decades reaping the benefits and the rewards of true financial, time-related, and geographic freedom. By establishing a well-managed practice that operates seamlessly, whether you're there or not, you can work whenever and wherever you want to. If you're single and young, take advantage of this reality. You can do that necessary upfront work while you have no family obligations. How do I know this? As I mentioned earlier, I started this career as a 20-year-old single male. I had all the freedom without the competing priorities of having a family. Many people who enter this career do so right out of college, but others are career changers. They've been in the workforce for a while, and in some cases are making fairly good money. They are often hesitant about starting completely over in a new career, despite long-term earning potential. I've heard career changers say, well, I've got a family, a mortgage, and kids who are depending on me. I have living expenses, and I don't think I can make this switch. That's a legitimate concern. However, my experience is that this model as a sponsored entrepreneur is a great fit for people who do have families and financial obligations because they're highly motivated and disciplined to do the things it takes to be successful in this business and drive revenue immediately. In fact, I would say this is the group who tends to have the highest levels of success. The higher your income is when you come into this business, the harder you'll work to surpass that income. You have more to lose than someone just out of college. So it is likely that you'll perform at a higher level early on. If you're a career changer, please don't look at your situation as a negative factor. 5 traits that can predict success in this career. We've discussed general characteristics of the people who tend to succeed in this business. Now let's drill a little deeper and look at 5 more specific character traits of those who are an ideal fit for this business. Number 1, they're already making $80,000 to $150,000 per year in their current role. 2, they've been in their current role for 5+ years. 3, they're used to working more than 50 hours per week. 4, they're in sales or management or are business owners. 5, they're currently working in a position that allows them to transition into business ownership over time without having an income gap. In my experience, people with these characteristics have an 80% chance of long-term success in this business. Next, we'll look at various roles in the financial services industry to consider as your starting point.